Hey guys, welcome to Now That's Debatable. We're back at you with another one of our shorter episodes. Today we're going to be talking about the most famous orange in the world, yet again. That's right, you know him, you may love him. His name is Donald Trump. And today we're not going to be talking about his arrest or his indictments or even uh, in a necessarily negative way. We're just going to be talking about the prospects of the GOP in the upcoming election in November. And given that Trump is leading the polls as of
Yes,
June
by a lot.
by a lot, what that will mean for the GOP. And then we're going to throw in one little really off topic thing, but that'll come a little later in the show. So without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah. So like Trump stuff, he's up. Last poll that I see is he was up 51%. The next guy, that's the the next closest guy is Ron DeSantis with 22. And then after that, it's not even worth mentioning. Mike Pence is at 7, Nikki Haley's at 4, Tim Scott's at 3,
Yeah.
Chris Christie's at 5. It's not even funny. And so I think I'll tell you this, man. If if I was in charge of the GOP party and I was also part of some secret cabal, also some sort of conspiracy to ensure the re-election of a Democratic president, the first thing I would do is try to nominate Donald Trump. I think he's the guy who despite how unpopular Biden has become, I think he's the one guy that would definitely lose. Because you think about it. So you usually the country, they fall into about 4 categories. You got the 25% that always vote left, and another 25 that always vote right, and then you have this 50% in the middle that kind of sway both ways, right? And so what you need to do is you need to keep everybody on your side and then pull a little bit from the moderates from the other side. That's what you have to do. And someone as polarizing as Trump is a guarantee that you're not going to be able to pull moderates.
Yeah,
You're,
I mean,
it,
you typically when you see people, and like this kind of reminds me back in the day when like Rand Paul, well, his father specifically, Ron Paul, he
mm-hmm.
was just so far away that even though he was an independent candidate, like he just couldn't find that kind of balance to draw people in. And when you have somebody that's like extremely one-sided or extremely diversive, your mind's probably already made up on that person. And if not, by the time they start doing things that are extremely diversive, it kind of helps make up your mind. And undoubtedly, Trump is one of those people. I hear people say things like he speaks his mind and he does what he wants, and he's not
Those are
like
true.
other he's not like other politicians, and all of those
That's
things are
true.
true.
Yeah.
Whether they're for the reasons you want them to be true or not is a different question. But um, when you're so kind of abrasive, whether that's good or bad, because abrasive is a way to polish, but it's also a way to take away. Then you kind of set people kind of in a path against you,
Oh,
and I
definitely.
think Trump has kind of done so.
Yeah. I think one of the major issues he ran into was his judicial appointments, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court. The huge decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, that was because of Trump, right? He was able to nominate 3 Supreme Court candidates, and so and Trump was taking credit for that, and he actually regrets that decision. He even said afterwards he think that's what cost him the election. I don't think so. It definitely hurt him because even though like abortion is a very contentious issue, the majority of the country is still pro-choice, and even a significant number of Republicans are still pro-choice. So uh, all of the scandals to the side, the classified documents, the indictment for in New York for Stormy Daniels, which that's still going over, even though nobody's talking about it because you got this the classified document thing is just so much bigger and more
Mm-hmm.
problematic. But yeah, even before all of those things, I mean, the uh, liberal moderates voting for Trump over Biden, I mean, it's just unlikely. And so this surge, I'm sure you're aware that after his indictments, he started doing better in the polls,
Yeah, he actually grew
which
about 5 or 6% after his indictment, his second indictment.
yeah, and so that it helps. Yeah, sure. I mean, like that's going to work. The people that are celebrating this or liking him even more after being indicted for criminal charges, that is a small, loud, and dogmatic part of the country, but the the vast majority of people don't look at this as good things, especially the people that you need to be trying to get the vote for you in the first place, which is the moderate Democrats who be willing to listen to Republican Party. That they're not going to be impressed by you mishandling classified documents.
Yep. And
So
just to kind of piggyback on that same thing is that, I mean, you also have part of this small loud group that are now being arrested. We're over 1,000 people that have been arrested for the January 6 riots that are now. I mean, I know it's only 1,000 people, but those 1,000 people were definitely 1,000 people that would have voted for Trump
yeah,
that now are facing federal charges. And I think it just kind of goes to show and piggyback on like some of the stuff that we've seen Donald Trump do and essentially get away with. Or I won't even go that far. I won't say that. I'll say that he has fought in court and successfully won court cases over. I think it's catching up to him. I think we're to the point now where he is in really, really hot water, and I think there is a lot of evidence that could potentially put him in jail. And because of that, if the GOP is still trying to put him forth as their frontrunner, it's a ludicrous move.
oh, definitely, because like he's not even going to be able to focus on running for president. His time's going to be divided between that and his legal issues going on.
Yep. I mean,
So
we have that, the two current indictments, and then there's potential indictments for the January 6 riots, as well as potential indictments from the state of Georgia and tampering with votes.
oh yeah, that was reemerging. They're finding more evidence of that, and so I don't know if you ever remember the phone call when he was like, "Hey, just find a few extra votes, man. If I can just get Georgia, just
Yeah,
find them."
he left
Uh,
a message to the who was it, the senator of Georgia or the
Somebody I don't
governor
remember.
or
Yeah,
the
it was some
one of the
official.
higher political candidates and parties in Georgia, where he called and basically was like, don't certify the vote in Georgia, find me some votes."
Right.
And like it's on a recorded line because he called from the White House to the political office in which
Well, yeah,
both are
and
recorded.
he left the voicemail too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. So I think like so what you were saying earlier about the 1,000 January 6 rioters being arrested and being charged. A lot of them being thrown in prison. I think there was one guy, he got what, 18 years.
yeah. I
He
was reading a little bit about it earlier today because I recently went back and watched. There's a compilation of the footage. The highest sentencing currently is 18 years against a
yeah.
guy, and then there are multiple people between the 10 and the 16-year range. for inciting violence and physically assaulting police officers and destruction of government property and or not collusion, conspiracy. Seditious conspiracy is the big one that they've been charging people with, which is a federal crime. And
I,
you lose your right to vote, by the way, if you get convicted
yeah,
of a felony. So it's not, and again, this isn't like a bash Trump or bash these people. This is a, hey, GOP, the people, if you're going to put him as your front runner, you have to realize the people that are the loud crowd are facing federal charges, and the people that could potentially sway have seen the backlash of what happens when you do stuff to support this guy in some of the more egregious things that he may request that you do or imply that you do or that you read into that he implies that you do. Because I won't put the blame on him for everything, because I'm sure people were in their own way outraged.
yeah.
However, there are ways to go about protesting. There are ways to go about disagreeing with elections. And the way that these 1,000+ people did it now mean federal charges for them.
I
So,
think that's also why the turnout for some of the protests now, like it's just like nobody's been showing up because he's been calling people to protest on his behalf for this federal
yeah, the
indictment and
New
stuff.
York one, he called for people, and like there was a small group that showed up, but then like the federal indictment, like literally, they said, I mean, there may have been people with signs,
Yeah, but like
but it was
most of the people are
few and far
there.
between.
Yeah, a lot of people there that just showed up just out of curiosity,
Yeah,
not really in support of Trump. And I think people are realizing that it's not like Trump had their back. He didn't provide any sort of legal assistance. And if you are dumb enough to show up to a Trump protest after what happened at the Capitol, I mean, I don't even feel sorry for you. You just deserve whatever you got coming down the pipes, man. Like if even if they started handing out life sentences, I'd just be like, you know what? Yeah, you're an idiot if you're even showing up after
yeah,
what's happened.
yeah. The moral of the story being, it's a bad foot to lead with for the GOP. Like, so this genuinely wasn't meant to be a bash Trump session or a bash people that support Trump. It's just that if you want to get the vote back into the hands of the GOP, if you want to get the White House back into the hands of the GOP, if that is your desire, I think both of us agree that putting Trump as a foot forward is a really bad misstep. And
Right.
by if you took someone else, and I don't really care who, it doesn't matter to me. Like it doesn't matter. But if you took someone like Ron DeSantis, who's the second in line, right, and you put your support and push behind Ron DeSantis as a second in line, you have now at least a candidate who won't be so A, divisive, or B, tied up in things going on
Yeah,
that they can't
distractions.
focus. Yeah, I mean,
You
Trump
got
is going to be
distractions.
distracted. His legal
Yep.
team is requesting that the case be set after the election, which is temporarily, technically, a indefinite suspension, which is undoubtedly going to get denied. They may push for a date after the election. Not saying that's not going to happen. They may get a date after the election. But while this is going on, if you're trying to run the GOP and you're trying to lead the GOP, what you don't need is someone fighting two current indictments with a third indictment literally on the chamber for the January 6 riots and potentially a fourth for the Georgia votes. You need somebody that can stand firm and lead and not have to deal with all that mishmash. And if you're against that and you're in the Democratic Party, you're not part of the Grand Old Party, and you want to destroy the GOP, then by all means hope that Trump goes in there, because he's going to be so tied up in litigation and argument and distractions and court dates and everything else. He's not going to have
Yeah.
time to focus on the election itself.
Yeah, like a lot of those other candidates, even like, I mean, DeSantis he's a little controversial as well. Not nearly as much as Trump, but even some of the other candidates, like it's not like the people who who are voting for Trump. It's not like they would turn around and then vote for Joe Biden.
No,
If you didn't get the nominee, like so, you're
no.
you get a reasonable GOP candidate. You're guaranteed all the supporters you had from Trump,
Yep.
because they're gonna
You
have,
just genuinely just need to kind of get him out of the way and get a better foot in the door forward. And the
and we can
people,
pull some of these moderates.
yep, you take some of the people that were either on the fence or concerned about Trump, and you get them voting for the next in line. And then if Trump willingly steps down, which I don't foresee happening, but if he doesn't get the support of the GOP as their primary, then we still have these people that would normally vote for Trump voting for whoever else in hopes that they were willing to help Trump.
Hmm.
Like it's not like you're gonna just go and immediately turn around and vote for Biden. That's never gonna happen. So
No.
just like you know, if anyone's interested in running the GOP and you're interested in not running it into the ground, something to consider.
Yeah. Well, one last note. The one thing that really surprised me, I guess I overestimated Trump's moral integrity, which is
Mm.
a pretty easy thing to do,
Yeah, this is
it
the one
seems.
really off topic, but it's a short.
Yeah, he posted what he thought was Obama's home address, and somebody showed up with two guns, several hundred rounds of ammo,
And
live streaming on you.
supposedly a detonator.
Yeah, right. Live streaming, you know, and saying he's looking for a shot, to kill the former president. And to add icing on the cake, the guy had an active warrant for his arrest for his participation. And January 6th riot
January 6th riots.
is this is like, to me, like, knowing the danger that something like that could cause. Like, you're doxing a former president, somebody who, and matter of fact, like, he knows that he has, thousands of morons who listen and follow every single word he says. So it's not like that. It's not like this situation was unpredictable. Like, there's no way you thought that. There's no way that the possibility didn't come across your mind that some dangerous individual might show up at the house and try to harm them. And so I just, despite how awful of a human being he is, this genuinely surprised me. I didn't think that he would do something like that. But like I said, it seems like overestimating his moral integrity is pretty easy.
Yeah.
So, like, you think, oh, he won't do that, and then he does it. So
yeah. So yeah, that's it's another Trump episode, but I promise we'll not be doing all of them. There won't be sequential or anything. So we'll see you guys very shortly with a new topic, and hope you're enjoying the new format. See you guys soon.